Okay, so in this box is hard drives for one of these servers, and we are going to hopefully have enough screws. I've printed 6 drive cages, or drive caddies. I have 2 original ones that we can use, and this is going to be like a hobby machine that we can play around with. But we have to set up the machine first. So I believe that I have my Ubuntu server image set up properly. I have not actually tested it yet. I hope these work. Oh, look at that. That's what we want to see. And there's no screws. So, yeah. All right. So we have to... The challenge, the search and find, is going to be M3 screws. I have some. I don't know if I have enough. So we're going to dig through. I've got a couple containers of screws here. There's at least 2 screws per drive, right? That's the goal. And I hope they said they tested all of these drives, so they should last for a little bit. All right, we have a bunch of Dell 1 terabyte, 2.5-inch SAS drives. So they're a little different. Where did I put that other one? Right here. So this is SATA, and then this is SAS. So they're ever so slightly different. There's a little notch on the SATA, but it doesn't exist on the SAS, and you can't use a SATA drive in a SAS connector. So while I would have loved to be able to just buy a bunch of SATA drives, I would have had to replace the backplane on the server, which it's not worth the money. So I found some refurbished SAS drives from a recycling company, and we will see how many of these drives we can get. Okay, let's do the standard ones first. We're going to use these for the main drive, just because I know they work. And I want to go like this. They go in like this. Please fit. If the washer part on these is too big, I'm gonna be so mad. Oh my god! See, I just lost one. Good thing I kept one. Yep, the washer's too big. Hello everyone, this is Cardell, and today's topic is our server that we have. We have our 2950 2U Gen 3 Dell PowerEdge server, and I managed to get 2 of the drives to plug in, with one using one of these racks and using filament little cut off pieces to go in, and then where the screws go in, I just kind of shoved some filament in there. just to give it enough resistance that I can push it in. And I managed to get 2 of them recognized, but the second one I had to use an actual caddy. I have some screws on order. I tried to modify some screws. They just don't work. The heads are too big. So we ordered some actual Dell server screws in bulk from eBay. So they should be here sometime. But for now, we're going to install Ubuntu. So I'm going to dump this in here, and we're going to start the jet engine. So before we actually install the system, I think what we'll do is we'll show you the virtual disk setup. So what you have to do is you have to wait until it gets to the RAID controller section. It's Control R. What do you want? My cat is very interested that there's a noisy thing in this room now. This is why these things are not meant to be shut off, because they take so long to check. Alright, so two 2.5 gigahertz quad core 133 bus speeds. We have 32 gig of 667 memory in there. There's 8 sticks. There's the RAID controller BIOS, so we press Control R. It's telling us we have a bad RAID battery, which is fine. And so here we go. So I've already tried to make sure that these work, and I installed it already, but we're gonna reinstall it because I want to start from fresh and show you how all this works. So we go Control N for next. You can see the 2 drives that we have installed in here, and then we have enable the controller BIOS. So that's the actual BIOS controller part that handles all of the registrations and whatever that it needs to do. But apart from that, we have our virtual disk setup. This is the OS drive, so it is 2 of the 1 terabyte drives in RAID 1, and it's basically a mirror, so that if one of those drives dies, I can take it out and replace it, and then it will rebuild itself back up as you use the system, and then it will just continue operating without losing any data. So it's kind of nice. So we're going to escape, and we're going to reboot. And we're going to start the Ubuntu process. So this is Ubuntu 22.04 long-term support, LTS. And we have a goal of installing things like Node, PM2 for running nodes as services, and potentially Docker. I'm a little concerned about running Docker because I don't have my other drives set up. I don't know how far I can get. So we might not deal with that. But so this is going to come up with all the possible update or install devices, like hard drives. There's a CD drive in here, or a DVD drive, so it'll show that up. And then it has the virtual controller, which is where the USB is plugged into. So we got to find out where it is. It's just assigned as cruise. Okay, so normal. So this will do normal boot. The CD drive. Oh, it's just a CD drive. A hard drive. Okay, there we go. So there's the front cruiser. So it's emulating it as a hard drive. So we will choose the cruiser blade and try and install. Every now and then it locks up when it reboots, and I don't know why. I actually saw some YouTube videos and the exact same thing happened. Okay, there we go. It might work now because it did the whole refresh and everything. So when it locks up, it will stay on the big text. It won't initialize the display, and it'll have some kind of it had something to do with the clock and telling you to change the global clock to local instead of whatever. And that was the part that it would lock up on, like every time. Every time it locked up, that was the error message you got stuck on. So it was either that part or the part that loads next, whatever that is. I don't know what loads after that, but hi, Kia. Hi. Yeah. Are you interested in the computer? It's weird. She doesn't like vacuums. What is this? What's this? All right. Ubuntu server should go into the setup now. All right. Yeah, we'll update the installer. So the current connections on this are I have two Ethernet connections to it, and there's a PoE switch, which is what the camera is powered by. It's just a little 8-port PoE switch, and that is connected with a cable that runs across the room to the router. And we choose this. We want server. I don't think there's any third-party drivers, but we'll tell it to install it. I have already told this machine to be a specific IP address, so it's giving it 116, and it's doing a mirror test. So anyways, the Ethernet jacks there's one for the management console, which is the remote access, and it gets a specific IP address, a static one you set in the BIOS. And then the other one is just a regular gigabit connection, and that is the one that the system uses, or one of them. This machine, I believe, has so it has the two built-in one gigabits, but then it has 2 gigabit Ethernet cards, Intel cards in it. So I could have 6 internet connections or 2 other switches, routers, networks, whatever, inside of this machine. Ubuntu also has the option to bond connections. So I'm assuming that you could do, I don't know. I don't know how load balancers wire up. I know that there's like hardware load balancers you can buy, but you could probably change this into a load balancer so that you could have different Ethernet cards connected to, like, if I have 2 of them, I could have like 2 different Starlink internet, and it would be load balanced inside on that connection. And then you would bond those together, and then you could bond the 2 Ethernets to like LAN based, like maybe a fiber and a DSL service, or a cellular modem type thing, something like that. Okay, it continued. We're gonna done. Use the entire disk. Set it up as a logical volume, and we go to done. So we don't need to create a software RAID because this is a server. It has a hardware RAID controller, and that looks okay. Yep. We'll just do this and continue. All right. So we're gonna do this. I want to do hard out. Okay, I want 2950A. So this is server A. I have 2 of these. We'll do this and turn my password off screen. We do not need Ubuntu Pro. We want SSH because we're going to SSH into this later. And there's no third-party drivers. Cool. Okay, so now let's install Docker while we're at it because we may need that. Yeah, I think that's about it. We don't need anything else right now. PostgreSQL maybe, but we'll see. All right. So now it's just going to install all the system software, the OS. This will say installation complete at the top. At that point, it's just updating things and doing all kinds of whatever. Oh, it'll install Docker as well, but it'll install everything, and then it does a self-update automatically, which you can skip and just boot into the system. But we're just going to let this run. It won't take that long to install this. I will mention that it is very old. The system has, there's dates on the components inside with labels that say 2007. So it's getting up there in age. So I don't, it's probably on its last little service regimen right now. If anything happens to this, I don't know how much more money I'm willing to put into it. I mean, technically one of these is free. I paid $80. The guy dropped it off. It was 75. I gave him 80. He gave me two of the same servers pretty much, and then a 1U server from 2004 that's going in recycle because it's got one bad hard drive. These are SCSI drives. You cannot buy these anymore, and if you do, it's cost prohibitive. So yeah, I'm just going to chuck this away, and it's going to go into recycle because there's nothing on these drives. I think I installed Ubuntu on one. It's fine. No one cares. But yeah, it runs. I mean, it works perfectly fine. Come on, get in there. Oh, upside down. But yeah, so the drives are really cool. The other thing I thought, because I printed it with the transparent stuff, is that it would light up. I had a look, and the part on the connector. I wonder if I can find the other one. Let me see if I can grab the other cradle. Oh, there's the other one right there. You can tell because it has the label on it, whereas the dummy bays don't have labels. So yeah, so we have the LED is here, and if you look on the tray, it's actually here and here. And there's this little plastic piece that goes from all the way in the back. And if you look at these, if I go to the back, they're not quite the same. When these are installed, they're like this, right? And I think what's happening is those devices, actually, you know, I bet you this just came loose, but it might be about the same. But I mean, I honestly don't think that it's gonna have enough stuff to do it. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. I wish it would be really cool if they would like light up and stuff, but like when an error happens, the whole thing goes red. Yeah, the drive caddies that I have that I printed are just a little bit too big. There we go. And I think it has to do with some of the squeeze out on like the layers and stuff. So I'll have to grab a file, some sandpaper and just smooth it out a bit. But I think what happened is they're a little too inconsistent, and I had to try a second one and got one of the drives to go in. It didn't recognize it. That also could be the fact that I'm using filament to hold them in instead of screws. But yeah. Well, it took me a little bit. So, but when I used the actual tray, I used the filament still and put it in. It lit up when the drive went in. So I know that they do work. It's just, yeah, little wonky. But we're gonna put the other 6 drives in, and we're gonna do RAID 5 and one hot swap drive, and we're just gonna let it run like that. It means we only have 4 terabytes of storage, but that's probably going to be plenty for this machine. All right, so now we should boot into Linux if it doesn't lock up. What are you doing? What are you playing with? Are you being psycho today? Hmm? Do you guys ever have those little moths in your house and they just somehow they get in like from a plant? Like if you take a plant in from outside for the winter and then it hatches or something, but there's not really much food except for the plants in your house, and it just floats around and hibernates or whatever it is until summertime, and then it will manage to escape. Because there's been like three or four tiny moths, like really really small ones, and the cats have been loving it. Like they freak out, they howl because they can't catch it. It's too fast and small, and they just run up and down trying to catch for this thing. And yeah, it's quite humorous. Who needs TV and internet when you have cats and moths in your house? All right, so here we go. So you should show Linux. There we go. Ubuntu. Oh, there's that trace clock local thing. Doesn't mean it locked up. Yep, it locked up. So you probably can't see it, but this error here says unstable clock detected, switching default tracing clock to global. If you want to keep using the local clock, then add trace clock equals local. Right, so we're going to shut it down. So while we're waiting for this to boot, I'll talk about some of the stuff I've been working with on the Pocket Town project. We have a Discord bot that it's a custom bot that I've been writing over the last year or two, and it's been working fine. There's a lot of manual administration for it, and I'm making a version 2 right now. And last night was the first time that I made a breakthrough on a way to get around having the bot on our web server, that the same server that runs the website. Um, and I wanted it to be modular so I can move the bot if things change or whatever. I want to be able to put the bot on a server and just let it sit there, right? So what I'm doing is I'm making a separate API and a Discord bot that are separate from the server. All right. We're just going to run Ubuntu. So last night, I was the first step successfully. I was able to pull two random people and a random item, and then just pick the first one as the winner for now. It downloads the two winner and loser images from the IPFS link on there for the assets. It downloads it, saves it, combines it, puts the versus logo in like normal, and then it saves that file, uploads it to a specific channel as an attachment, pulls the URL, and then makes the normal embed, and then pastes that URL in there, deletes all the local files. And it does this automatically. And it worked like fine. It took a little trial and error to make sure it was pulling stuff, posting it from a specific channel, etc. But yeah, it works really good. Um, and I mean, it deletes the messages when it posts that result image in the channel. It deletes it once it doesn't need it anymore, and that image will just reside somewhere for a little while. I don't care how long it takes for it to delete. I just don't want it stored on our server because you have like over 20 servers or something like that, and you're saving like 1 meg files every 6 hours times all the servers. It kind of adds up after a while. And it wasn't deleting them because if I deleted them, if a new person joins the server and the images have been deleted, it will show nothing. It'll just be this empty black box and there won't be an image there, right? So I was trying not to, and I was just letting it run for as long as possible, and then I would just delete them in bulk and deal with it, right? Because you would get like a couple hundred meg of images like really fast. So, I think there was, at one point, there was like 4,000 images on there because I left it for too long. So, I mean, that's like close to 4 gig of images sitting there. All right, so we are back on the main computer, and we have our PuTTY connected to the machine. All right, there we go. All right. So what we have is the two things we're going to install today. We've got Node.js and we have PM2. So we can start with installing Node.js, and we're just going to copy this whole command line and like that. And I have no idea why this is doing that. I've never seen it do the control keys like that. Let's try that again. There it goes. All right. So now we're going to do this, but we have to run this as sudo like that. And that should be PM2 installed, and we should be good to go. Done. So node version, node version, and npm version. Cool. And then PM2 status. There we go. We got the monitor. It has our little first boot time, tells us how to start things or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, we're just gonna try and do a couple services on here, maybe some Dockers. They will run separately, but the PM2 is going to be for all our Discord bots and APIs and stuff like that we'll use. And yeah, we'll just use this to basically every time the system restarts, it will automatically run all the services that we have. So that is the entire video. Yeah, once we get the other hard drives installed with the screws, when they arrive, then we will put all the rest of the 6 drives in, initialize the RAID arrays, and then we should be good to go and start setting up Jellyfin. I'm not going to install Jellyfin yet. We'll wait. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good day.